the whole thing was such a fiasco that they gave up on it and made the 71st a light infantry division, but they did get rid of the mules. But I came along after the mules. The 71st was started out in 1943, and in 1945 we were shipped to Le Havre, France, during the Battle of the Bulge. This is the bottom of the bulge. They were having big problems, and we were a new unit that they shopped in, and we didn't have any mules anymore, but we were a fast-moving division, and with Patton, we were the gophers, and we had a larger number of people killed than any other division. There's so much that I just can't. I did bring a couple of DVDs that had been produced. This one was right at the end of World War II. Just after the end of the war, our division put this together. Everybody was saying that the Holocaust didn't occur and all this sort of stuff. Well, this DVD was produced by the 71st Infantry Division. I'm going to leave copies of this, and we can make copies. With these, we're happy if you make copies and show them around. That's something that they say you don't do. Now we say, do it, please. The next DVD, Carmel has Holocaust Remembrance Days. We had a gentleman that was keynote speaker for one of the Remembrance Days, and he said someday he'd like to thank the 71st Infantry Division for saving his life. So I called the mayor, and he said, oh yeah, he was part of the 71st, and he was at Dunkirchen. So I called, and he had a daughter that lived here. So I called her, and we were having a reunion that time in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So we went and shared a room, and all the people at the Harrisburg Convention were people that we had liberated, the main people that really we were involved in it too. But the main people that you will see in this DVD are people we liberated. The guy that started CVS Pharmacy, he's in here. He's one of the ones. So it's an untold story that we want everybody to see. And a few other little things that happened. I was a medic, and we were going through Germany like crazy. And my commanding officer was OBGYN, and we were a triage unit. We were supposed to be on the front lines, but not ahead of them. And we were given our coordinates where we were supposed to go next. And we were going through Germany like crazy, and the captain and his Jeep and 3 ambulances got lost. We wound up about 30 miles behind the lines. Well, at this point in the war, the Germans knew the war was over. They had to capture us, they didn't want us. And my best buddy was a boy from Brooklyn. And his parents had made it out of Germany when he was about 4 years old. Your religion's on your dog tag. And Joe was petrified. I said, Joe, they're going to say I'm German. I'm German. I was born in Germany. And I said, I don't speak German. I don't even know how to make the sign of the Star of David. We'll switch dog tags. And so I can't do that. Well, we finally did. The Germans were so anxious to get away from us and get rid of us. They dropped us off at a concentration camp, and I think it was Dachau. We didn't make it back into the main camp. They locked us in a building and took off. They didn't even go through our ambulances to see what we had, what they could steal. They left. When the GIs finally got there, we switched dog tags back. So I kid all my Jewish friends, I was a Jew once. I went to a concentration camp as a Jew, but I came out a Gentile. So, that's one of the little, there's so many other things that I can't talk about. Or just, I lost my sense of smell for several years. We were the first ones into Gunkerson, and Gunkerson was not a concentration camp, it was a death camp. When they started getting rid of people that had worked long enough and they weren't very productive anymore, they sent them to these work camps and starved them to death. And when we got into Gunkerson, they were dying up to 50 a night, every night. And you'll see that in this one. I will make some copies of these and leave these copies around. There's also, in addition to the gentleman that I said was that we had liberated, Eva Kor was also one of the ones that passed through the 71st. Eva Kor was a surviving twin. The Germans did experiments on twins. Both she and her sister survived. She made it back to Israel, and a boy from Purdue just graduated from pharmacy, and they were trying to do something in Israel where they needed a pharmacist. So he went to Israel and met her. They got married, came back to Terre Haute and opened a pharmacy. He's now deceased, but she has the Holocaust Museum in Terre Haute. You may have seen her on the front page of the news a couple, 3 weeks ago. The whole front page was her. She's quite a lady. Any questions? So there's not much I can tell you. I did bring a few little things. This helmet was issued U.S. I wore it to Germany, wore it home. So I had that one all during World War II. The other one is a German helmet. And the German helmet is a lot lighter than the American helmet. And the American helmet is a little different because we're 2 pieces. And theirs weighs 3 pounds, and ours weighs a little over 3. So we're a little heavier than they are. This is a German helmet from World War II. And I brought some of these. This was in the November issue where I talked to the 5th grade teacher. The 5th grade teacher's an English, he's a teacher, 5th grade teacher. And this was in his class. I brought a few extra those.
Sir, when you watch programs like, if you've ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan or the movie series that we talked about earlier,
Mhm.
what's the series we were just talking about a little bit ago, the war series from
Oh,
Band of
Band of
Brothers.
Brothers.
Yeah, and the
When
brothers.
you see those films,
Yeah,
how's
well,
that-
they're somewhat, you know.
how does that make
In
you
the
feel?
Band
Is
of
it
Brothers,
accurate?
yeah, Band of Brothers, you will see this exact bronze twice. It's so-so, but it's not real. We also, you probably know who the Daughters of the Revolution are. This is a sorority, women. You have to be able to prove that you have a relative. That was part of the country when we were forming the United States. You have to, the Daughters of the Revolution have to be able to trace their plan back. If you can't, you can be an associate member, but not a member. Every year they give some certificates of appreciation to people who have served. I received a certificate of appreciation from the Daughters of the Revolution. And the lady who was reading it said, "You served with the 71st Infantry Division." I said, "Yes." Said, "My father was killed April the 1st, 71st Infantry Division, 3 months before I was born." On the date that her father was killed, April 1st, the Norden SS was Hitler's elite SS group. And we were in a process of getting rid of all of them. And this was their last big push. On that day, I helped evacuate 150 wounded. It was the bloodiest that we had been. She had never met her father. She was born afterwards. She now is part of a group of people whose fathers have killed in different battles. Her name is Bridget Cato. Her husband's family owns Cato, the food or produce distributor, largest one in the state. And this is her. She never and had no idea of anything that went on because at home they just don't talk about these things. They just don't. So she's quite a lady. Anything else?
Have you ever been back to Europe since your deployments?
No.
Was the 71st, were they just in, I know there were several different arenas, like the Pacific, North Africa,
No.
were they just European?
Well, the 71st was deactivated on March 11th, 1946.
Okay.
So they were deactivated, and those of us that still had time in service were shifted off to other. I went to the 9th Infantry after, 9th Infantry after that. But the 71st was, they wiped the site clean, so it does not exist.
And that was through Italy, right?
No.
But that's where you guys started at though?
No, this is where they got the idea of the mules.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And it was 4 generals. One of them was a general from World War II. And another one was a general of World War I. I forget where the other guy came from, but they were going to have something that was really, we're going to have something that we can go through the Alps, because there won't be any bridges. nothing there. And in the Pacific area, they had already started using mules some through the jungles, because there's no roads. So this was their bright idea, and as I told you, it went big time bust. And that's when I was fortunately in school when all this was going on. So when they deactivated, we went to Fort Benning, Georgia. That's where I joined and where we finished up. Yes.
You said you were in the Battle of the Bulge?
No. We went in during the end of the Battle of the Bulge. The unit that I was with was the one that took the pressure off of the group that had been there, because we were new people. So we got the big push.
Can you describe how cold it was?
Pardon?
Can you describe how cold it was?
It was a pretty cold winter. This was, we had some snow, but not a whole lot. It wasn't a real snowy winter, but we did have problems. Yes?
Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I was drafted.
How did you end up being a medic?
I was a farm boy, and this is when they would put the mules together. So I think that's what happened, because because farm boys, we know how to use those things. We didn't have tractors. My dad didn't have a tractor until about halfway through World War II. But I can tell you what the rear end of a horse looks like.
Could you tell us how you acquired the bus with Hitler?
Yeah, when I knew I was going to be shipping out, I asked my sister what she wanted from Europe. And she said, send me Hitler's head. When we were not too far into Germany, I found this in a bombed out building. And these are German ammunition boxes. And I made it out back to the field hospital all the time because I was always taking people back. We could pick these things up all over the place. The Germans are very crafty. Their shells for artillery and this sort of stuff, you know what a shell looks like. Okay, they had boxes that those fit in. So they shipped the box out. They shot the shell, put the other one back in there, and send it back to be reloaded. So that's what these are. And they're all different sizes, depending on, this one I think was probably a rifle, I don't know. But it was not like one of the ones that take the big shells. I have some of those too. But those we could ship home for free. And the guys at the field hospital were always very kind, because there's all a lot of stuff that has to be liberated. And I always, shared a little liberation with the people at the field hospital.
Any idea the value of that bus? Never had it.
No, I found out. I told somebody that I had one, and they are now remaking these and trying to sell them as for real. So he said, no, that's, you sure yours is real? I said, yeah, I know it's real. But you see in the movie Band of Brothers, you see this exact bust twice. These were very popular. Yes?
Did you, before you've gotten over, and we're kind of moving in on Germany, do you have any knowledge of the concentration camps?
No, we didn't know these existed. We knew that there were labor camps and all this sort of stuff, because as I told you, my best buddy was a Jewish boy. And they were familiar with some of the stuff that was going on, but not what we saw. Even they had not seen it. And that's why this first movie was we did this one. Because there's American eyewitnesses. That was us. So don't tell us this crap. We were there. The liberation unit, as I told you, this one is people that we liberated. There's a lot of us in it. In fact, you'll find me in a lot of this. But the main thing is the people that we liberated. And one of them is the one that I told you his daughter lives here, and we go to all the conventions together. His wife has been deceased for several years. But I'm going to leave some of these, and I'm going to make more copies. So everybody can show them too. Please do, because this is a part of World War II that most people don't know. It was always, didn't happen. But this is the people it happened to, and we show you. And well, some of it is beyond belief. That's why we have trouble talking about it. Because you walk in, you find 40 to 50 people dead. Some of them dead more than one day. Just, it's unbelievable. And I lost my sense of smell for several years. And still to some extent, probably. But total, I couldn't smell anything.
You think that was probably the worst for as far as other people in your division and stuff like that, that was probably the worst thing that you guys had to deal with afterwards?
Yeah.
Was finding those camps?
And 71st caught more than any other unit.
Really?
We went farther east than any other unit, and we took more prisoners and more POWs. What happened? We met the Russians. In fact, we were over into Czechoslovakia, and they made Patton pull us back. He practically got court-martialed because you just don't retreat. But with that group, the German soldier did not want to be caught by the Russians. And as a medic, I took a lot of prisoners. I told them where to stack their rifles. So, but that's why the 71st took more POWs than any other unit. And that's why
And
we hit that whole front.
would the POWs then be, you guys would take them in and then they would be sent off somewhere else?
Yeah. And we just trucked them out.
Mm-hmm.
They were here to be trucked out.
Right.
Yeah. And, we, in fact, the VE Day for the Southern Division was us. Our VE Day is one day ahead of the rest of the world. And this was Hitler's elite that they liberated, that we took, and then everybody else went. So they were the first one to go. Yes?
How far did you make it into Czechoslovakia?
Oh, I don't know, 15, 20 miles. But they were pulling, they were screaming and shouting. And the Russians were too. And the locals didn't know what to do. Yes?
You know, you say that your friend runs the Holocaust Museum in Northern Indiana. Where did you say you work?
Terre Haute.
Oh, Terre Haute.
Terre Haute.
Have you given your testimony to the Holocaust
Even
Museum?
Oh, sure. I've known Eva for years and years and years. Eva was, I don't know whether you're familiar with the experiments they did on twins. Both she and her sister were people that they experimented on. Fortunately, they both made it back to Israel. To make it back to Israel, they were up in the Polish area. Those groups came back through the 71st. We were the filter unit to get them on down. This was after the war. To get them on down and to send them back to wherever they were going. In fact, this is another little interesting one. I had a problem with Bob Hope. We were working with a group that was primarily Hungarian and trying to get them settled down and anything we could do to keep them busy. Where we were trying to get their physicals and all this sort of stuff. And several of them had been professional musicians, had been with the Budapest Symphony. And we had a very large mess hall that handled several people. This was in Steyr, Austria. And we rustled up instruments, and we had fantastic music. And they were real happy to work for leftovers. Well, Bob Hope had a USO show there. And unfortunately, I had to work. I didn't make it. But he ate in our mess hall. He was so impressed with our orchestra, he took them with him for a week on the road. So he stole them from us for a whole week. And when they came back, about the only thing they could say was, "Wonderful, wonderful." But no, in fact, one of the musicians, you know, key of E clarinet is about that long. They're real small. This guy had been able to keep it through a work camp. He was in a munition camp where they were filling shells, and was able to keep it all during the World War II. When he was leaving, he was so happy. He insisted that I keep it, and he played it in the late 30s and 40s, early 40s, before he was drafted and into the Hungarian army and was captured by the Germans. So I have a key of E clarinet that was played in the Budapest Symphony. Anything else? Yes?
Where did you pick up the German helmet?
I don't know. I shipped several of them home. And that's one that was in the barn at the farm for several years. And I dug it up. But I gave them to a lot of people. Because we could ship them back for free in ammunition boxes. Yes?
Did you ever pick up on any of the language when you were over there?
Anyway,
Any of the language?
language, kind of easy. Very little. Yes.
Did you ever consider enlisting before you were drafted?
No. I was a farm boy. We just worked on the farm, milked the cows, and doing what we were supposed to do. I was still in school.
Where were you raised, sir?
Fountain City.
What's that? I don't know where that
Well, you know where Richmond is?
Uh-huh.
Okay, just north of Richmond.
How many acres is your farm?
90 acres. It was a good-sized farm for, you know, then. Now it's, yeah. But, yes.
A lot of people, especially this generation, they know exactly where they were at on like 9/11. Some of the older gentlemen here, like Scotty, probably knows where he was when JFK was shot. But where, what were you doing, or do you remember whenever Pearl Harbor happened?
I was in school.
You were in school?
Yeah. They came in and announced it.
I was gonna say, that was my next question. How do you notify about it?
They came and announced it to the whole school.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went home.
Uh-huh.
So,
And were you guys told about everything over Radio, I'm assuming that's all really?
Yeah, that's what we had.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, well, at that time, see, we didn't have electricity through the country yet.
Uh-huh.
And I was, you know, well, some of the radios are crystal sets. You know what a crystal set is? Nope. Okay. Okay. A crystal set. You have to have a very good antenna. And a crystal set is a little, oh, I can't tell you the name, the proper name for the stone, but it's a stone, and you have a wire that you put over the stone and rub it back and forth until you get a signal. And you actually you have to, one end of it to the antenna, the other end to the ground.
Really?
Yep. And I made them. We had Galilea back in the farm, that by the stream that ran through. And no, I made them and sold them. I got 50 cents for them. And I think a set of headphones then was, I think it was $1 for headphones. You have to have headphones. No, we didn't have electricity through the country until during World War II.
Have you ever been to the memorial in Washington D.C.?
Yes.
What did you think of that?
Yeah, I've been there twice. Once, well, with my grandkids. They wanted to go see the Patton Museum at Fort Knox and the World War II Memorial. So I took them to both. Their quad group was, they graduate this year. Their father is going to be 4 kids in college. I don't know, but during that time we were just,
So you've been out there twice though?
yeah. The second time I was there, I have an uncle that's buried in Arlington, and my uncle, I got some stuff here. He was born in 1918. I was born in 1925. I'll leave these up here for you to look at. This is the ceremony in Arlington. He was drafted from Richmond, Indiana. And we had just crossed the Rhine. In fact, I think we crossed the Rhine within 50 miles of each other. He never told his kids anything, ever. And, you know, I didn't much either. But, so he was born in 1918, I was born in 1925. He got a battlefield commission shortly after we crossed the Rhine. And then after that, he was wounded, and his left arm was very bad. He stayed in, finished out as a colonel, and was head of all medical procurement in the Pentagon. He worked his way up. And this is his funeral in Arlington. He's buried in Arlington. And at a funeral in Arlington, there is always a lady in black. The story goes that there was a lady that showed up for her husband to be interned. And she was the only one there. They said that will never happen again. All these ladies in black are, well, 2/3 of them are widows. Most of them they're all volunteers. But it's very impressive. But there's always a lady in black, and this is a picture of a funeral at Arlington, which is my uncle. I'll leave this up here for you.
What did you do after the war, sir?
No. No, I went back to school, and got a job with an outfit out of Buffalo, New York. We were treating the below ground section of utility poles. This is a summer job. And the company I was working for was a little German company that they had some German patents and all this sort of stuff before World War II. And the only way they got their money out of the country was to buy patents. And they set up this little outfit in Buffalo, New York to make this preservative that they had patents on. And with this, we had a lot of cedar poles. A cedar pole will last about 20, 25 years with no treatment, no nothing, you set it in the ground. And some of them had been dipped in creosote and set in the ground. And this company worked up a deal where they would go out and take the pole and drill a hole in it to see if it's good or not. And if it was, we treated it with this wood preservative. Well, we were doing this all over the country, and I was with them in this is primarily a summer job, in Jackson, Michigan. And they had a lot of cedar poles. And one of the engineers came out and said, what are you going to do about the tops? I said, we're in the preservative business, I suppose we'll do that too. So I went buzzing into the vice president's office in Buffalo, I called him on the phone and said, I want to talk to you. He didn't ask me what for. I went buzzing into his office and I said, we've got something here that we can, new division. He said, oh, you've got to be kidding. I said, no way. I find it convincing that there was a preservative out there, we just hadn't found it. He gave me a small stipends, and the Forestry Products Lab in Madison, Wisconsin is the largest repository of information on wood in the world. I spent some time up there with a couple of people, and we found a new chlorinated phenol that hadn't been patented even yet. And from what we did in the lab, it looked great. So we got the patents issued through that. I was salaried employee, so I mean, my name's on it, but I didn't get money out of it. But then we did set up a whole new division to treat the top of the pole. It had to be mixed with kerosene, and you sprayed it on. So we climbed, and so that's what I did after the war. And we finally, well, the cedar poles are only east of the Mississippi, and none west. And we did practically everything in the United States. At that time, my wife couldn't have kids, we had to adopt, so I had to get off the road. And since I've been a medic, I was able to get a job with a pharmaceutical company as a salesman, and stayed in the pharmaceutical industry then for several years, until I was forced to retire. The company I was with, we were primarily dermatology and allergy. And we were a little Jewish company out of New York City. And we were purchased by Miles. Everybody know who Miles is, Nelker. When Miles was purchased by Bayer, they sent in all German nationals, all management was immediately German nationals. They sent in whole families. And it was unbelievable. You would say, Bayer, 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 not Bayer, Bayer. We didn't understand what was going on. At that time, Bayer AG, Bayer Germany, did not own Bayer aspirin or the Bayer trademark. It was confiscated World War I by war reparations, part of Sterling Drug. So when they gained control of it, they started getting rid of the people with World War II. So I started knowing coming.
You could work for the enemy, huh?
Well, you know, they still have to take care of my health care. They don't realize it, but my contract on my pharmaceuticals is the guy that owns CVS. Well, CVS, the guy that owns it was a prisoner in Guthrie. They didn't know that. But they have to pay my prescriptions. Anything else? Yes.
I heard that you are still working today.
Well, I do a few things,
Tell us about that.
but no, I used to work with Century Pharmaceuticals, and then Rick Crawford and I developed a process for extending shelf life of baked goods from 3 days to 6 weeks without preservatives. Can't get the patent through on it. And Rick had the big wholesale bakery out on 465, and finally went bankrupt. So, but no, I've done a lot of crazy things over the years. Yes.
What year did you leave the war?
What
What year did you leave the war?
Oh, at here in Indiana.
Or what year?
Oh, in 46.
46?
Yeah. I got out real quick.
How old were you when you were drafted?
18. Yeah.
You mentioned you had kids.
Uh-huh.
Did they ever consider joining the military? And, I mean, Vietnam occurred sometime after World War II, and were you worried they'd ever get drafted or anything like that?
No, I'll tell you, my oldest son, the one with the quadruplets, he graduated from, he was drum major at IU and drum major here at Carmel. And at that time, he'd worked all the summer band camps and all this stuff. He knew 2/3 of the top band leaders in the whole eastern United States because he'd worked band camps. At that time, he thought he wanted to be a band director. And his 3rd year at IU, he called and said, "Dad, I don't know what I'm doing. This is not what I want to do. I'm going to the Army." I said, "You're what?" He said, "I'm going to the Army." Well, I got a call from the colonel that he had talked to, and he said we could offer him anything he wants. He said if he'd scored 3 points higher on the aptitude, we couldn't talk to him, his IQ. I can brag about his IQ because he's a doctor. It's not my genes. He's got good genes. So, no, he went in for 4 years and he refused to take OCS. He was the highest commanding, non-commissioned officer in, what became 3rd Army Reserves. And then he had to quit that when the kids were little. But when he ran the 3rd Army at Atterbury, he was in charge of all training, both lieutenants and all this good stuff. And he had a lieutenant that demanded he was going to drive that Humvee. And he said, "No, you're not." He said, "My name is on there. You will not drive it." Well, the lieutenant did and backed it into a car. And he was the 1st lieutenant, but when they were done, he was the 2nd lieutenant. And he had to pay. So, that's the one that has the 4 that will be going next year. But he went to Carmel, went into the Army, but didn't want to be an officer. But he did write the book, They have a training book for guided missiles and this sort of stuff. Well, he had been through that. And the guy that was supposed to teach it down in Danbury, some reason or couldn't do it. My son said, "That's no big deal. I know it. I'll do it." Well, he started going through the material and it was horrible. So he wrote a new book. And the commanding general of 3rd Army had never been in Danbury before. And they had the meetings room set up like this with a little thing in the back for any visitor and this sort of stuff to come in and look through the literature and all that sort of stuff without interrupting the class. And the first time the general had ever been there, and he was going through the thing and said, "Sergeant, we aren't supposed to go to interrupt, but I've never seen this manual. Where'd it come from?" I said, "Well, there wasn't a good one. I wrote that one." So the manual for 3rd Army is one that he wrote. So I'm pretty proud of him.
Sir, we'd like to give you this letter of appreciation for your service that you've given to this country and for you sharing your stories with our organization. We appreciate everything you've done and everything you continue to do to share your tales with everybody else.
Thank you.
We also would like to present you with that delicious cake over there.
Okay, you gonna cut it?
The answer is yes.
Yes, sir.
And I'm gonna make some more of these. Everybody needs to watch these. It will show you something that is not in the textbooks. It's just not there. And these are the real people. And this one, I'm in a lot.
So watch that.
Yeah. Watch that one first. We'll watch that one first.
Yeah. Well, no, you really don't
No.
want to. This one you need first.
Okay.
Because this one tells you the Army and what we did. This one is a combination. These are people that we survived or brought out of death camps. And most of these are gun cushion. But in fact, this is produced by a group out of gun cushion. Not us. And that's why I said we can copy these because we're both happy for more people to see it. There's still people that don't believe the Holocaust occurred. It's unbelievable. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.